Well, there's actually been a lot of talk during the pandemic that eating disorders could be on the rise.
Here to talk about it and tell us how to spot the warning signs, Dr. Laura Saunders, a psychologist at the Institute of Living. And nice to see you. It must be Wednesday. You're on the show. We love you.
It's Happy Wednesday. Here I am.
That's great. All right. So first of all, what is an eat? I know bulimia, anorexia. There are different types of eating disorders out there, right?
Yes, and I do like to make the distinction between an eating disorder, right, which is a mental illness. It's actually a very serious preoccupation with calorie intake, and there's body distortions. Usually there's a disturbance in exercise and disordered eating, right? And so I think we are certainly seeing some increases in eating disorders, but also disordered eating. And let's look at some of the factors that are contributing to this. Loss of extracurricular activities, loss of ability to play sports for teens, excessive time on social media. And what do we do when we're on social media? We do comparison. Oh, this person's thinner. Oh, this person has a better life than me. And at the core of eating disorders really is about control. What can I control? I'm going to control what comes into my body and what comes out of my body.
One of the first stories I remember doing as a teen reporter was interviewing other teens, and that's what struck me, is that the profile, I guess, for someone who might have anorexia is often a girl who seems to have everything, but then she wants control of her life, and it's not even about getting skinny as much as it is about controlling everything. Is that right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's really connected to anxiety, right? And there's a lot of what we call cognitive distortion. There's a lot of distortion in how you see yourself and in how you see the world, or the people around you. So the way that you manage that is by controlling what comes into your body. And these are very serious. So even if it's just disordered eating, or all the way into, kind of a full-blown eating disorder. And I don't even necessarily need to get into all the subtypes. I mean, as you both mentioned, there's anorexia, there's bulimia. There's also something called ARFID, which is a very highly restrictive eating disorder. But it's just really looking at what are the contributing factors. And for parents or older siblings, looking at the people around you, your other family members, and saying, is there an alteration with weight? Is there an intense preoccupation with calorie intake? Is there a real change in how you're doing your exercise, what you are doing? Are there significant mood fluctuations? Are there changes in, use of maybe getting access to diet pills or diuretics or those kinds of things? So it's really looking at, is there an alteration behavior, and is there a significant loss of weight?
Is this, forgive me, is this more of a female problem than a male problem, or is it both? Is it equal?
There is more females diagnosed with an eating disorder, but believe it or not, there are more and more males who have this also. They also engage in a lot of the body distortions, and it could be that they need to be excessively thin. It's also sometimes for males that they want to be bigger. So they want to have bigger muscles or better definition. So you see this a lot of time in what we call gym rats, that, that they're so restrictive in their eating, but they have pretty significant body distortions, and think that, they have to build bigger and bigger and bigger muscles as well.
So how do you help if you think, what would treatment include? Because I guess you say teens are really at risk. So if we're noticing something, what do we do?
Well, I'd like to start with a conversation, but in my experience, there's a lot of defensiveness and denial around the fact that there's an eating disorder. So what we have to do is actually start to get some kind of clinical evidence. Contact your pediatrician. You might need to have a visit. Has there been a loss of weight? Has there been a change in percentage of body fat? We really want to look at if there's nutritional deficiencies. So I start with the pediatrician. Very often looking at therapy, sometimes medication. But I do think this is serious. It's actually one of the mental disorders that leads to pretty high morbidity, because if you are so restrictive, you really affect your body's ability to take in nutrition. You're literally starving yourself. So I do like to check with pediatrician. This is, in fact, we need the support of medical professionals as well.
And we have more. Thank you, Dr. Saunders. We so appreciate your advice.
Happy to be here.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely if you're noticing something, you want to reach out. So there's a national, excuse me, National Eating Disorder Helpline for support, resources, and treatment, and that number is 1-800-931-2237. Worth a phone call if you have any suspicions about your teen.